For the head, I'm using Josanya Brown Earth and painting that on. And the detail brush I've been using lately is a James Company Ultra Point. Okay, I went over that with 2 coats. And you can see it's a pretty dark value. The bill is really dark, so I'm going to use burnt umber with just a touch of carbon black to darken it a little bit more, and then just a touch of white gesso. And I'm using a filbert that will give me a nice smooth finish. We don't want to leave a lot of brush strokes. For the eye patch base color, I'm going to mix 90% phthalo green, 10% carbon black, and it blackens it up pretty quick, so you don't need much carbon black. And then I've got a little filbert, and I'm just gonna use that mix. I'm painting right over the eye, and that way you make sure and get good coverage down and around the eye. Just putting carbon black in that little triangular area at the back of the crest. Just give you a shot of that. Now I'm using a little burnt sienna mixed with yellow oxide and a little scrubber brush, coming up with a lighter value of this reddish brown. And I'm using the scrubber to kind of dry brush blend, bring the light down so you can see a little better. We want to use this to put some highlight on the face. I'm going to scrub a little highlight on the cheeks. I'm going to add a little more of the yellow oxide as you get closer to the eye stripe, so that it's light there. Flip this around and maybe you can see it a little better. I'm just going to go back and forth and work these highlights, leaving the area down below dark as it approaches the breast. And I'm also using this same mix to kind of lighten this area back here. And again, letting that blend out as it goes forward and leaving this area dark on top. I've put a little brown, burnt umber, in with the brown earth mix. And I'm using that to just darken this front of the crown area just a little darker, and blend that out as you go back. Take a little of the original breast peach color and go in here and carefully put some indications of feather. And use the body base color and do the same thing. Very subtle, but just to keep this from being a hard line and just show some transitional feathers there. Now I have some of the green interference, and I've masked off this eye patch area. Go in and highlight an area kind of up and down behind the eye. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the light yellow-green interference, like that. Now I'm using a little raw sienna and white gesso and a little scrubber, and going in and scrubbing this highlight under the eye patch, and it kind of fades out as it goes further back I'm using the scrubber so we have a nice soft line. Now I'm using raw sienna, scrubbing a little bit of this characteristic line from the front of the bill, where the bill meets the face, up to the top of the eye patch. And then following along the top of the eye patch, just a little bit of a lighter value here, not as prominent as down below. So I've got the raw sienna scrubbed in here. Now I'm going to take carbon black. Just make sure this is a dark transition in this little triangular area of the crest. Now I'm taking a little phthalo green with darkened a little bit with carbon black. I'm going to pull some flow lines around the crest here. I'm also pulling some carbon black streaks through this raw sienna. It's not really a stripe, it's just a real subtle transition between the eye stripe and the rear of the crest where it turns that jet black. And take a little yellow oxide with burnt sienna and just come in here on the dark portion of this eye patch and just put a little indication of some feathers up here. And then back here, again with the brown earth, kind of like we did on the crest, or the eye patch, I'm sorry. Pulling in a few flow lines. Just taking a little raw sienna and white. Just going into this area where I scrubbed this lighter marking and putting a few little feather details. Just taking a little burnt umber right along the edge here and pulling into the lighter lines above.